there are journeys that take you across the world. And then there are journeys that return you to who you truly are. This episode is part of Destination Awakening, Journey as Initiation, Travel as Transmission, a curated documentary-style symposium created in collaboration with GnosticTV and directed by me. What you are about to enter is not just a conversation. It is part of a wider field, a body of transmissions by wisdom keepers and code carriers from different traditions, exploring sacred sites, ancient lineages, and the role of travel as a catalyst for remembrance and embodied leadership at the time. This series originally lives on GnosticTV, and I am opening the episodes here on the Sacred Travel Podcast and the Travel Alchemy Show so more people can watch them. If you feel the resonance of these transmissions, you are invited to step deeper into the full symposium experience. The original link is shared in the show notes below. And I warmly invite you to get in touch with all the amazing speakers, as each of their unique perspectives and angles holds wisdom codes for your becoming. If these conversations resonate with you, I'd love for you to leave us a thumbs up and subscribe for more. But now, enjoy. Just as the human body has energy centers, our home planet has Earth chakras, planetary gateways, receiving and transmitting energy across the living body of the Earth and keeping her in place with the rest of the universe. There are places on this earth that are not here to simply inspire us. They are here to recalibrate us, to elevate our field of consciousness, and to remind us of who we are beyond the physical form. Because sacred sites are not just grand monuments we visit. They are purposefully intelligent, architected environments designed to encode consciousness and remembrance, and to interact directly with our human energy field and our psyche. Across civilizations, across continents, across timelines, we find the same intelligence expressed through different structures. In Egypt, the temples along the Nile map the evolution of human consciousness, the path of the Initiate. In Mesoamerica, pyramids and temple complexes align to anchor the serpentine feminine consciousness current on the planet. In Europe, cathedrals rise, architected upon ancient oracle sites, forming a pilgrimage architecture known as the Camino de Santiago, the path of the stars. And beyond that, just as the human body has energy centers, our home planet has Earth chakras, planetary gateways, receiving and transmitting energy across the living body of the Earth and keeping her in place with the rest of the universe. My name is Julia Weigert, and through many mystical, heart-opening, and mind-bending experiences, I came to know the Earth herself was initiating me into the embodied understanding of my encoded soul wisdom. And she is offering the same to you. Travel shifts into a sacred act of pilgrimage when intention, presence, meet us in the places where our soul is ready to remember. Our essence, our path, our gifts, our mission. The Earth is a living library. Sacred temples carry the energetic architecture, so our next journey becomes a soul initiation. For me, the energy of place was never just a concept. It was something I experienced as a visceral feeling in my body, energies moving through me and holding codes and information everywhere I traveled. And even if I did not travel, there were sites on this earth that have been conversing with me deeply ever since I was a child. Of course, the understanding of all of that only came much later on my path. Egypt has been a calling ever since I can remember. And of course, it was only later, until I finally set foot on the ground, that made me understand glimpses of why that little girl had been dreaming about Tutankhamun, why she had been obsessed with riddles, sphinxes, pyramids, and ancient stone ruins from long, long times past. Now, I have always been that travel bird for leisure, for work, just because I possess this deep urge to explore, to go on adventures, and to immerse myself fully into different cultures and ways of thinking around the world. I knew that travel broadens the mind and it opens you up. And looking back, I have always had experiences that one could describe as spiritual, mystical, beyond the veil, or even metaphysical. As a person who is mostly clear cognizant and clear sentient, meaning that I feel a lot or I just know things, I've always had a visceral feeling in very different environments. Think of this sense of sheer freedom that overcomes you on a snowy mountain slope with this grandiose panorama. Or think of calming waves of the ocean when your feet touch the water and you can feel the sand between your toes. Think of that breathtaking awe when walking into Cologne Cathedral, feeling that there is a force greater than your human presence all along. Now, of course, while having these experiences, I did not understand, nor did I try to make any connection. I was seeking, I was a seeker, but I had definitely not found yet. And the first pieces of the puzzle were clicking into place for me when I traveled to Egypt for the first time. It was a beautiful sunset over the Giza Plateau. And in the presence of the Sphinx and the Khafre pyramid, which is the middle pyramid, I had that profound cellular experience. Khafre, the one with the golden capstone in the middle, the energy of that pyramid, she started speaking to me, and she started speaking through me. And my body responded before my mind could even explain anything. So my whole body was just vibrating. I had tears pouring down my face from a deep, deep pool of remembrance inside that I didn't even know that existed. That was really a moment where the veils lifted and where past, present, and future timelines collapsed into one thing, into the presence. And a field of oneness that I had never accessed before in that way emerged. Now she, the pyramid, shared with me how many times, how many lifetimes I had lived in Egypt, and that Africa was that continent that I came to die. And in some lifetimes in a physical form, but mostly in a symbolic way. And this is the path of the initiate. A journey for spirit and soul, the ancient pathways designed to transform and awaken, reawaken into higher consciousness. And from that moment on, I could no longer relate to travel in the same way. I understood that every single place I had been on this earth, the timings, the sequences, the constellations, were but one thing: initiations into a deeper knowing of self. And the earth herself was my teacher, was my path of initiation. Once that channel was open, and I learned how to work with the energies of place and my body as sacred mirrors, I started to go about my travels in a much more conscious way. and also taken groups to powerful places where I have had major recalibration moments, like Sambam and France, or the Greek islands of Rhodes and Crete, and of course, Egypt. And that is what I also witness in others. Different places, different landscapes, different cultures. But the same pattern, the same activations, the same visceral feeling of remembrance, of knowing this place without ever having been there before. And that same understanding that the body and the light body architecture is being recalibrated to come into coherence. That ancient gifts awaken, that the path becomes clear and purpose gets ignited. And this is when I understood even deeper. This is not random. This is an intelligent system the earth herself holds. A living, energetic library. And when we enter this field intentionally, consciously, alignment accelerates, perception expands, and what once felt out of reach becomes very accessible and your truth. And let me tell you, this is not a concept. This is actual energetics of piercing through what the Egyptians called the net, the field of perception that is available to us. And we become the creator, creatrix of life because we know how to play by the rules of the universe. Now, one intelligent system mirroring the human body and the rainbow light body are the earth chakras. And I'm going to be quoting Robert Kuhn, the man who discovered and explored the earth chakras. The earth is a living being with its own creative, evolutionary will, and with its own methods for enacting that purpose. If we look at nature, we discover that design and innovation, the architect and the inventor are at work. Earth is the matrix for life. So just like the human chakras are vital to the health and well-being of a person, the earth chakras are essential to the health and balance of our earth and to all living beings, calling this planet home, depending on different ecosystems to thrive and live. The chakras can also be seen as energy transmitters and receivers, where encoded information is shared from and with other planets within the universe. All continents, including Antarctica, hold one great chakra point that also correlates with a major sacred site. The root chakra of the earth can be found at Mount Shasta in the US, that anchors the primal blueprint of incarnation, awakening deep grounding, belonging, and the courage to fully inhabit the physical body. It's a very sacred mountain to the local tribes, considered the center of the universe and the place of creation. Lake Titicaca is known to be the sacral earth chakra, the place where Thoth, as Quetzalcoatl, is said to have descended himself to form a new civilization. Lake Titicaca holds the womb of planetary creation, awakening emotional intelligence, creativity, and ancient feminine remembrance. The solar plexus chakra of the earth can be found in Australia at the Uluru and Katachuta. The solar consciousness anchor with its powerful Table Mountain in radiant colors of orange, sandy, and yellow. This holds the will of the earth, igniting inner sovereignty, the I am power, self-leadership, and alignment with one's authentic direction. The heart chakra of the earth can be found in Glastonbury at the Tor in England. Glastonbury is home to the legend and the energies of not only the Isle of Avalon, but also the Holy Grail. While Shaftesbury, that works in the same axis, is set to hold the sacred spear of purpose. Now, according to an ancient prophecy, when both these energies unite, the Grail and the sword, the rainbow serpent ley line will start to carry the life-giving Grail frequencies again into all the meridians of the whole world to restore balance. Glastonbury is very much a dragon place of the emerald frequency, where we may sense that the earth plugs us in while also opening the upper chakras wide from the heart center. The Giza pyramids are the throat chakra of the earth. This complex in Egypt is the seat of Earth's higher expression, truth transmission, and the embodiment of conscious communication. The architecture held in the landscape is mirrored by the pyramids as resonance chambers of sound and frequency, transmitting clarity of voice and alignment with all divine intelligence within this universe. Traveling to the Giza Plateau is highly transformational for many. The third eye chakra is located in Shaftesbury in England, and this is the only chakra that moves with the precession of the equinox. So every 2,000 years, a new place becomes the Eon activation center. Now, in 1960, the third eye chakra moved from Jerusalem, where it was in the age of Pisces. Notice the connection to Yeshua and the symbol of the fish, to Glastonbury and Shaftesbury to support the age of Aquarius. Tuning awareness to Shaftesbury and the seed of the sacred spear of purpose, your oracular center might align with your own deeper mission and path. And the culmination in the crown chakra of the earth is found at Mount Kailash in Tibet, the most sacred mountain in the Himalayas and the center of Earth's crown chakra energy. Countless people pilgrimage to Mount Kailash every year in search of enlightenment and the opening of the crown, as so to speak. It transmits royalty, stillness, and transcendence, dissolving separation and restoring awareness of the whole. And in recognizing all of these planetary centers as mirrors of our own inner architecture, a deeper pattern begins to emerge. As above, so below. As within, so without. This sacred mirror repeats itself in the architecture of sacred sites and their specific journeys. This is where the path of the initiate reveals itself as a living progression of our consciousness to claim the evolutionary archway of our soul and to retrieve the codings that our soul left in different lifetimes. One of the clearest expressions of this architecture of remembrance is the initiatory pathway along the Nile in Egypt. Built as an Atlantean colony and energetic repository, the temples of Egypt are not isolated monuments. They form a progression arc. Abu Simbel, Elephantine, and Philae Temple, Kamambo Temple, Edfu Temple, the Osirian and Abydos, Esna, Dendera, the Sphinx, and the pyramids of Giza are distinct centers of a training ground for the evolution of your consciousness that is lined up like pearls on a necklace along the Nile that functions as the spine, the jet pillar. and the crystalline water codes activating the spinal fluid leading to enlightenment. Some temples are also stargates in turn. And when we move through these sacred sites in a distinct order, sequencing, and timing, our system responds. We become the initiate, like Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, and many ascended masters trained in the temples. We experience the rising of our jet pillars, the spine like Osiris. We relive the quest and the resurrection of the beloved through the power of love, like Isis did. We come in touch with the feeling of revenge, of grief, duality, illusion, surrender, trust, alignment with the higher forces, compassion, creation. All of these forces residing within us and bringing them into balance. Because this gets unlocked the moment we enter each temple. The moment we touch the hieroglyphs on the walls and they start speaking to us in ways that go beyond the human mind. This is direct knowing because your body feels it. Your nervous system stabilizes. Identity structures begin to shift in alignment with the highest expression and the potential that we hold. Clarity increases, perception expands, and reality becomes an altered state of consciousness itself because we enter the net. The same progression unfolds as the feminine current or serpent of consciousness rising through the body of the earth in Mesoamerica. Uxmal as the base chakra of a new cycle. Labna uniting polarities. Kaaba igniting willpower. Tulum as the throat of sacred sound and expression. Kahun Lich as the pituitary chakra opening psychic abilities. Palenque as pineal gland chakra preparing for the next world, and Tikal as gateway and portal into the next iteration. This has been researched and described in the teachings of Drunvalo Melchizedek, that these temples are not random cities. They are living nodes of planetary light and a planetary light body arranged in a sequence that mirrors the awakening of human consciousness. Same concept we see here. The initiate moves through a frequency ladder where each temple activates a specific aspect of perception. And the body begins to remember its original geometry. And the Merkaba field responds, recognizing itself as starfire incarnate or as the light. These sites function as harmonic resonators. Pyramids, plazas, and alignments are tuned to geometry, sound, and cosmic timing, designed to interact with the human energy field. As we move from one center to another, the emotional body clears, the mental body reorganizes, and the crystalline heart Merkaba begins to synchronize with the planetary grid. This is why the journey itself becomes the initiation. The land holds the sequence. The temples hold the keys. And the human body becomes the chamber in which the cellular memory is unlocked. In this way, Mesoamerica forms a feminine serpent pathway, not linear, but very alive, where consciousness rises through embodiment into vision and finally into cosmic awareness. And by the time the initiate reaches the final temples, perception has shifted from personal identity to unity awareness, collective consciousness. The earth is no longer experienced just as a landscape, but as a living intelligence. And the traveler recognizes that these journeys were never visiting places. They were about reactivating the original human blueprint held within the body and mirrored in the sacred architecture of the earth and the temples itself. Now you know 2 of these pathways encoded into Gaia herself, and I'd like to share a 3rd one with you. One of the most ancient and known pilgrimage routes still today. The pilgrimage to the relics were the Cathedral of St. James, the Camino de Santiago, the pilgrimage way of St. James. Now, what if you found out that long before St. James and Christianity and Christian religious pilgrimage even existed, this path had already attracted thousands of pilgrims, seekers, and initiates from close and far? You guessed it. We're speaking about another path of the initiate in disguise, the same initiatory archway and frequency. This is described in depth in the book Rosalind, Guardian of the Sacreds of the Holy Grail by Tim Wallace-Murphy and Marilyn Hopkins. The Church of St. James in Spain is not the final destination, as many have today. In former times, it was actually the beginning of a consecutive journey to 7 distinct druidic oracle sites and planetary sites. Today, you'll find churches and cathedrals built atop these ancient druidic oracle sites, built directly upon Earth's power nodes, preserving a much older initiatory journey into the mysteries of the universe and life itself. Each one is dedicated to a stream of consciousness, to a planet, and to its initiatory archetypal current, and thus also a chakra. The Cathedral of St. James of Compostela, reflecting the mysteries of the Moon Oracle. Notre Dame de Dalbonde in Toulouse is emanating with the wisdom of Mercury, speech, throat. Orléans Cathedral in France is the wisdom keeper of the Venus Oracle site. Chartres Cathedral is the Sun Oracle, the I Am Power. Notre Dame de Paris as the bearer of the I Am Martian Power. Amiens Cathedral encoded with Jupiter energy. And high up in the north, in Scotland, Rosalind Chapel is part of that archway as an otherworldly Saturn energy site. All places where the veil between the worlds was and still is very thin, and direct knowing, gnosis, could be accessed through the land itself. This pathway is known as the Camino de la Estrella, the path of the stars, because it mirrors the arc of the Milky Way across the sky, the Campo Stella. And its symbol is the shell, an ancient symbol for spiritual wisdom and the feminine mysteries that can only be found by turning the gaze inward. The initiate walked on earth what the heavens revealed above. As above, so below. As described in the Rosalind tradition, the journey moves westward towards the setting sun, symbolizing death of the old identity, while the Milky Way overhead becomes the celestial map, guiding the initiate through the transformation. And by the time the initiate reaches the western edge at Santiago and beyond the ocean, consciousness has moved through a full arc, from personal identity into cosmic belonging. The earth, the stars, and the human body begin to synchronize. And the journey becomes an embodied remembrance of the human as a bridge between the heavens and the earth. In this way, the original Camino is not only a pilgrimage, but a stellar initiation, where walking the land awakens the inner navigation system, and the traveler begins to read both the sky above as a star walker and star seed, and the sacred geometry encoded in the earth below in this human incarnation and in the body. What actually awakens through these journeys is not about something we add on to ourselves, nor do we need to heal anything. It's even more profound. It's the restoration of a lost remembrance in the body. Gifts begin to surface as intuitive perception sharpens. Your sensitivity deepens, not as something that we need to brush away, but as true superpower of heightened awareness and accessibility to life unfolding as pure magic. And clarity from within replacing uncertainty. We start to trust what we feel, what we know, and how our bodies respond to environments, places, and people around us, as our activated body's intelligence to read energy. Purpose is not something that needs to be searched for. It reveals itself when the noise falls away and alignment becomes tangible. This is what sacred travel grants us access to. Mission becomes obvious, not as performing through pressure, not as something to desperately seek, but as a natural unfolding of who we are. A quiet knowing of where energy wants to flow, what we are here to contribute, to steward, to create, as the legacy we came for. And awareness expands beyond the personal. We begin to not only perceive the interconnected intelligence between landscape, body, and consciousness, but to play it like the strings on a harp, to enjoy molding energy and architecting a beneficial future for us and all beings on the planet. These capacities are not learned. They are reopened, reactivated, and remembered. And sacred landscapes function as these catalysts, activating the dormant architecture and the ancient body technology within the human system, so gifts, purpose, leadership, and mission can emerge organically. This is the work that I am devoted to. My work centers around guiding women into direct relationship with landscapes and sacred sites as the access point and mirror of consciousness expansion. Through curated sacred travel experiences, including journeys to Egypt, Greece, France, Avalon, Scotland, Switzerland, and other powerful places across Europe and the world, I create portals of soul transformation where people don't just visit places. The women are met by the energies of the sacred site. They are activated by them and supported in stepping into their next level of clarity, divine embodiment, and conscious leadership as frequency holders of the time. If you're feeling the call of a place as soul activator deeply within your bones, your next step begins with the Sacred Travel Style Quiz. Because the question is not where you should go, but which environments hold codes for your becoming. The quiz reveals how your soul and energy are uniquely designed to engage with specific landscapes or sacred sites, And from there, you will be guided into your next sacred initiation journey. From there, I invite you to continue exploring through the Sacred Travel Podcast, a show where I share more about these initiatory pathways and the intelligence of place and the earth. So you can begin to understand how these patterns are already unfolding in your own life. And when you feel ready, you can step into one of the curated sacred journeys designed as intentional pathways through landscapes that support your personal clarity, embodiment, and consciousness expansion. You can find all of this, the quiz, the podcast, the upcoming journeys, on my website, soulwisdom.ch. You're also welcome to connect with me directly on Instagram at soul_wisdom_by_Julia, or explore the Sacred Travel Podcast on your preferred platform. Thank you for walking this virtual pilgrimage with me. Because the path of the initiate does not begin in distant temples, it begins in relationship. With the earth as living library, with sacred sites as your sacred mirrors, with the soul that has always known its way home, and with the deeper architecture of consciousness awakening within us. Because the places that call you are already part of your path. They have always been. Thank you.